¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, Q Bennett, Alio, how's it going? Echo Rusted Dragon, how's it going? Happy Ace Week indeed. Welcome, everybody. Howdy. Donald Trump weighs in on disastrous Republican efforts to select a new speaker and trots his own blasphemous pick that would enrage evangelicals if a Democrat ever said it. This entire process just got more embarrassing by the day. Yeah, we'll talk about the continued circus that's currently still happening. We'll talk about that. Let me make sure I got everything ready here. Also, if Fox News loses its broadcast license, that would be hilarious. Sorry, folks. Let me just make sure I got everything going. All right, folks. We have a few things to go through, so I think we should start going through everything, especially given the time. All right, let's talk about food and seeds. Hello, person that has been banned in quite the amount of channels. Are you going to vote for 2024, Biden or Trump? What does it matter? Looks like you racked up quite the ban list. That's interesting.
Just by opening this bag of seed, the stuff plants grow from, I'm entering a restrictive contract that could get me...
People don't like right-wingers. Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's it. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what happened.
Sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Except not really, because this isn't a real bag of seed, and the reason I couldn't get one is part of the story. But, let's take this outside.
Up until 100 years ago, the American government used to give out seed for free, leading to a collaborative system of agricultural research where everyone was working together to grow the best stuff.
But then a secret society formed, with the explicit goal of destroying the free seed program. That was the beginning of a series of events that led to today, where just 4 companies, 2 of which have a dark history, like the darkest history you can think of, control our food supply, down to literally a molecular level. That secret society is no longer a secret. They have conventions at Disneyland, and they're just a small part of what I'll call the life cartel. Wealthy industry leaders determined to privatize and put a price on everything.
Yeah, I mean, surprise, surprise. It's capitalist. All right, yep, cool.
Digging into it all just raised more questions for me. Why does America only use 2% of our farmland for fruits and vegetables? And why do American farmers pay more for seed than most of the world while sharing less? We're going to go into how exactly corporate power has killed millennia of agricultural norms that were beneficial to all in just a few decades, seized legal ownership of actual nature, and what it all means for you. You're watching The Classroom. From more...
Yeah, like, so just to be clear, like, the concept that, like, a company can own literal seeds, like a patent, so to speak, is wild. Is wild to me.
Perfect union. And this is the first video in a series where we will track how corporate greed has made America's food economy worse at pretty much every level. Agricultural innovation used to be considered a communal good, something American farmers could work on together. A big part of that was free seed programs run by Congress, the Postal Service, and importantly, the US Patent Office. Patents were established in the Constitution, designed to motivate innovation and protect inventors with exclusive rights to their discoveries for a limited amount of time. The system was meant to encourage scientific advancement that would help everyone. In 1839,
supposedly,
Patent Commissioner Henry Ellsworth started a program to collect seeds.
Asterisk.
Of new plants from around the world. It was even mandatory for government officials visiting other countries to collect seeds in their travels. The patent office's main goal here was innovation through the experimentation farmers naturally did as they did their jobs. In 1862, the USDA was created and given the power to procure, propagate, and distribute among the people new and valuable seeds and plants. Farmers and gardeners nationwide would get free seed, grow crops, take the seed from those crops, grow more crops, and eventually breed produce varieties best suited for their specific climate and soil. The farmers could profit from the fruits of their labor and the vegetables of their labor too, but no one owned the rights to the greater species of that plant, the genetics themselves, because that would be crazy, right? When some guy tried to patent the fibers of a pine tree, Ellsworth declared it would be unreasonable and impossible to allow patents upon the trees of the forest and the plants of the earth. By the turn of the century, the USDA had given out almost 1 billion packets of seeds, asking farmers to report back on their findings to optimize growing. But all that great stuff I told you about, free seed, communal research for the benefit of everyone, centuries-old understandings of how agriculture worked, was about to be foiled as the machinations of profit worked in the background. In 1883, a group of seedsmen, that's really what seed business guys call themselves, sent out a letter to their industry fellows to convene in New York City for the first meeting of the American Seed Trade Association, one of the first trade organizations in America. That's the secret society we told you about earlier. They started meeting every year. After the 1885 meeting, a Topeka, Kansas newspaper wrote, "We are in receipt of a printed circular purporting to give extracts from minutes of a meeting of the American Seed Trade Association. The object of the discussion was to evolve some plan whereby the government could be stopped from sending out free seeds." And free seed was constantly a big debate in Congress. In 1922, the debate came to a head. Clarence Linz, the Washington, D.C. correspondent for Seed World magazine, reported an ASTA rep saying, "The men in Congress will give free seeds such a death blow this year that this political graft will never be revived."
Jesus. Conscious Canuck, how's it going? The beginning of the end, exactly.
They were right. The free seed program was discontinued in 1923 after intense lobbying from the industry. The seedsmen won. But ASTA had another free seed problem. Farmers were growing seeds that they paid for, then using the seeds of the offspring to continue growing produce for free. One big step in the corporate seizure of
No way, for free? How dare they? Have the government, I'll send you free seeds. Well, so long as they're not patented by a company, right?
Things involved these. In the 1800s, the biggest owners of nurseries and orchards were the Stark brothers. They'd hold these annual fairs where farmers could bring new fruits they developed to sell the seeds to the Starks. At the 1892 fair, one farmer brought an apple variety that led magnate Clarence Stark to exclaim, "Delicious! That will be its name." Stark thought his genius name meant he should own the apple, so he, quote, tracked down the source of the apple, bought sole rights to the tree, which he surrounded with a tall metal fence, and trademarked the fruit as the Stark Delicious, which eventually became the Red Delicious. But all Stark had really done was trademark the name, which, like, Red Delicious? Really, buddy?
That's wild. I grow and collect them myself, bunch of suckers. Exactly. Yeah, free only for lobbyists and SCOTUS? Well, I guess corporations, I think, is what you mean.
That's stretching the bounds of intellectual property there, but it was still impossible to patent an actual living thing. In 1930, Paul Stark, yes, of the Stark brothers, then the largest orchardist and breeder in America, allied with the American Association of Nurserymen, a breeder trade association similar to ASTA, to lobby Congress for a change in patent law. They had an ally, a senator named John Townsend. Townsend owned hundreds of thousands of acres of apple orchards, making him the second largest orchardist in the country after his friends the Starks. Paul Stark literally wrote the bill, and the industry endorsed it. Everyone, from the International Appleship Association to the Peony and Iris Association. I'm not going to look up how to pronounce peony. But the bill wasn't everything ASTA wanted. It only applied to plants that reproduced asexually. Most important crop vegetation reproduces sexually, which means seeds and pollination, like corn and soybeans. The industry and ASTA wanted more protection of their profits. But the next intellectual property bill wouldn't come up for another few decades. So we have time for a Great Depression fun fact.
Peony. Gotcha. Which is near impossible now, since if your free seed is pollinated by a patented plant, your plant is now patented and not by you. That's okay, because I'll grow like the plants for myself. That's fine. It's just like wild, the concept that these people could actually own seeds, like seeds, like food, like plants. It's wild.
During the Great Depression, the Red Cross started giving out free seed again, and the American Seed Trade Association freaked the fuck out. They established the, quote, Committee on Free Seed Distribution, which determined that the Red Cross's behavior would, quote, result in an entirely new type of seed growing. One definitely for relief purposes. And get this, not for commercial purposes. But back to patents. In 1970, the 3,000th plant patent was given out for a nectarine tree with better eating quality. 3,000 patents in 40 years doesn't sound like a lot, but the floodgates were about
a bunch of anti-hippies. No, it's much worse than that. It's actual literal ghouls. Okay? It's actual literal ghouls who, like, are trying to squeeze profit out of food to such a degree, the control that they want to such a degree, down to the seed, is wild. That goes a little bit more than anti-hippies.
to open. ASTA had cemented themselves as a powerful Washington lobbying group, and a new bill, the Plant Variety Protection Act, was written and, quote, introduced at the request of the American Seed Trade Association. It created a type
No, Monsanto? Well, I mean, yeah, they own, I think they're part of the problem because they own like specific patents, but this is before then. And there are other companies that are involved in this.
certification, quote, near patent for sexually reproducing plants, which meant nearly any plant that a human had changed in any way through science or traditional breeding was ownable. It didn't apply to every plant because Big Soup, seriously, it was Campbell's and the canned veggie industry, convinced Congress to not allow the patenting of common soup vegetables like okra, celery, and carrots. You can't bake Big Soup. And it wasn't fully a patent either. Congress made sure these certificates would still allow for seed sharing, reuse, and research. Either way, the seedsmen were happy. John T. Sutherland, Executive Vice President of the American Seed Trade Association, calls it a major contribution to agriculture because of its simulation of research and reproduction from seed. In the late 70s, General Electric scientist Ananda Chakrabarty bred a microbe with a special ability. It could eat and digest oil. Miraculous for oil spills, which, side note, what the hell happened to that? That seems useful. But anyway, GE didn't want to share this technology with the world. What good is cleaning up oil spills if they couldn't make a profit off of it? So they attempted to patent it, a microbe. Their battle went all the way to the Supreme Court. In 1980's Diamond versus Chakrabarty. Because Chakrabarty had created a living thing that didn't exist before, it was considered an invention. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Chakrabarty and General Electric 5-4. That enabled the Patent Office to bring forward a case a few years later, which made it official.
Jeez. Yeah, monocropping. The seed patent problem is so bad there's been recent withdrawals from the International Seed Vault just to increase food diversity enough to avoid famine due to monocropping. Yep. How many channels am I banned? You can't ask the bot. You have to, I forget what the, let me see. Oh, it's an asterisk. Sorry. There you go. Thank you. Welcome, Carpe. What, 12? I'm not sure.
Novel sexually reproducing organisms could be patented. Living things were now completely acceptable as intellectual property. The Life Cartel moved.
Yeah, so like take a second to just digest that. All right, take a second to just digest that. You could literally patent living things like microbes. Yep. Never banned in my life. Yep, according to PosadaBot, that seems to be the case, at least to whatever its abilities. I really do need to get PosadaBot. PosadaBot is so cool. PosadaBot is really useful. And white mice. You can patent mice.
Fast to exploit the new system and change the landscape of how we eat, what we eat, incredibly quickly. In the 60s and 70s, before Chakrabarti, over 70% of soybeans harvested came from varieties developed by public funding, open to all. By the 90s, less than 10% was public, the rest fully privatized. That privatization is dominated by just 4 companies. Bayer, a pharmaceutical company, Syngenta, a division of a Chinese chemical company, BASF, a German chemical company, and Corteva, a spin-off of Dow, a chemical company. Yes, it's weird that it's chemical and pharmaceutical companies who own all the seeds. We'll get to that. But I wonder what these companies were doing.
I prefer brown rice with my white mice and black beans. Noted. For scientific testing, yes, there's a patented species of white mice. What? That's wild. And salsa roja. Nice.
While the seed companies fought for patent rights in the 1930s and on. Remember earlier when I was like, the darkest history you can think of? Let's see here. Bayer and BASF history. Oh, they were part of IG Farben, the German company.
Oh, no.
That made Zyklon B. That's the chemical used in gas chambers during the Holocaust. Anyway, 75 years later, these companies are part of the Life Cartel. They've been consolidating our entire food supply. Take a look at this chart. It shows how much intellectual property they've gobbled up in the corn industry alone. Okay, so
You just stuck with me for 100 years of legislative history about plants. What does all of this really mean, both for hard-working American farmers and the over 99% of Americans who need food to live?
Over 99% of Americans who need food to live. Yeah, I think that's, I think that's 100%.
it's a few things. Corporate abuse of farmers, a change in what and how we eat, and possibly the end of the world. Not only do US farmers pay way more for seed than the rest of the world, just by opening a bag of seed, farmers are signing long terms of service agreements, like the ones we all sign every time we download an app. But these are far more restrictive. In 1999, Indiana farmer Vernon Bowman bought Monsanto soybean seed. Monsanto's usually the poster child of all this, but they were absorbed by Bayer in 2016. Bowman signed Monsanto's usual contract, giving away his rights to growing second-generation crops from the Monsanto seeds. 7 years later, he was investigated by Monsanto, who found his crops contained their genetics. So they sued him. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, which ruled...
That's wild, folks. Like, just take that in for a second, right? Yeah, we need to find that 1%, up to 1% and learn their secrets. True. No fear, no sense of powerlessness. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, okay.
in favor of Monsanto. The ruling was unanimous. Yeah, that includes RBG. Justice Kagan's opinion stated that you cannot copy a patented product, even if that product naturally copies itself by the very basics of how life works. It affects
That's
small seed growers
wild.
too. If they want to license a genetic trait, not even a full seed, just a specific trait, they often have to hand over their own business information, like customer lists, to their much larger competitor. Why do the small companies need the big companies' genetic traits? Because many of the traits exist to make plants safe from the pesticides the chemical conglomerates that own the seed IP make. One of the most successful seed traits of all time is Roundup Ready, trademarked by Monsanto, now owned by Bayer. This ad is Australian, but it gets the point across.
Ah, God, wow, that's pretty bad. RBG is not a great person. Sorry, not sorry. Best drinkers are in that 1%. Oh, true. Those hippies that just eat air, the breatharians, true.
To enable you to see the benefits of the Roundup Ready technologies and plant in 2022, you'll need to sign a new license and stewardship agreement.
Roundup Ready trademark's only benefit is that it protects plants from Roundup, a pesticide made by Monsanto. The proliferation of Roundup means every seed company needs to incorporate Roundup Ready trademark traits into their seed. They're creating the problem to profit off of the solution.
Damn, wow, no way. Capitalism would engage in this type of behavior all because it's profit driven? No way, seriously? Wow. Cool. Phenomenal.
But all of this intellectual property protection must be great for innovation, right? Leading us into an
Lol, no. It just like basically incentivizes monopolization and like at some point it just stagnates. There's no point. There's no room for innovation. It just stagnates.
amazing technological food future. Nope, it means fewer choices for consumers. Since 1970, the year of the Plant Variety Protection Act, the percentage of American diets that comes from corn and canola, the crops the seed industry makes the most money off of, have skyrocketed. They changed the way we eat and what we eat to retain ownership and increase profits. All of the innovation promised by the death of free seeds and rise of owned seeds has done nothing for average people and a lot for the life cartel. And sorry, yeah, I dropped the end of the world a little bit earlier, and it took me a few minutes to get here, but a rise in growing only the most profitable crops created monoculture. That's where a single crop takes over a given area around the world. That means lack of biological diversity, which degrades soil, harms essential pollinators, and generally alters the earth in a way it's not meant to be altered. Generations of farmers had rotated crops in a much more sustainable way. The Life Cartel got rid of all of that. But if our Earth continues on its path to complete uninhabitability, the Life Cartel will be just fine. They are developing new seeds focusing on climate readiness, seeds with traits for survival in a rapidly changing world. In 2010, there
So that they can then sell that to you. Got it. Cool. Nice. 1% have enough chlorophyll in their skin to produce their own food by photosynthesis. Like solar panels. Yeah.
were 1,600 patent documents for climate genes. 2/3 were owned by the Life Cartel. If we reach a world where only those plants can survive, then the domination of our food system will be pretty much complete. So, what can we do about this? Well, let's think back. Who was in charge of the seed and patent system when it worked? That's right, the USDA. I'm assuming you said that, like Blue's Clues or something. Of course, this important government agency isn't immune to corporate capture. That's when business interests take control of regulatory groups. But after this declaration by President Biden,
Big Ag is putting a squeeze on farmers. They're seeing price hikes for seed, lopsided contracts, shrinking profits, and growing debt.
the USDA put together a team to examine the effects of consolidation and intellectual property on our food system. Part of their solution is a return to history. Collaboration between the USDA
I mean,
and the
like,
Patent Office.
wow, who would have thought that, like, basically continuing centralization of, like, a product, especially a product so important, like, I don't know, food, would be a bad idea.
For transparency in
No shit.
agricultural patents and more freedom for researchers and breeders. They also recommended working with the Department of Justice and Federal Trade Commission to go after anti-competitive practices, aka monopoly practices, in the seed industry. But remember, all that might sound great, but they're just recommendations. The USDA and the Biden administration need to fulfill them to take on big seed. And they need to go even further to create a communal research system that works to benefit farmers and eaters instead of executives and shareholders. This is just the first video in a series about the way corporate greed makes things worse for everyone who eats food. So
Nice. And scary. Nice and scary. Very good stuff. Okay, whoa. So we have a few things to talk about. I guess I should put this one on before we get into the articles.
Well, folks, last week, Donald Trump got popped for violating the gag order that had been placed upon him by Judge Arthur Engoron. And the reason for that, of course, is because Donald Trump did not fully delete the original post that he had shared on Truth Social attacking one of...
I mean, like, who's here surprised that it wasn't that long before he would get sanctioned for the gag order? Sean Morrow, WhiteHouse.gov list. This video is Ring of Fire. Yeah. That guy looks like Alex Jones. No, he is definitely not Alex Jones, okay? Don't let the beard fool you, okay?
One of these staffers in the courtroom. He deleted it from Truth Social, but he didn't delete it off of his own website, DonaldJTrump.com. So Judge Engoron decided to do the very bare minimum, and on Friday he hit Donald Trump with a $5,000 fine. He could have put him in jail over the weekend, just sit and think what you did, but instead he said...
I mean, like, at this point, like, I mean, what else is it gonna take? Like, this dude just doesn't care. Looks more like W.C. Fields than Alex Jones. Yes, he got fined for $5,000. W.C. Yeah, he kind of does. Whoa, come back. A little bit.
Give the court $5,000. Kind of weak, not what I wanted, but hey, at least it's some kind of punishment for breaking the rules, right? Well, shortly after...
Well, supposedly to a supposed allegedly billionaire, that's kind of like nothing, right? That's kind of nothing. I mean, I don't know, like, anybody else would have already been in jail a long time ago. Trump will sell t-shirts saying, I was right. Maybe.
Donald Trump was fined $5,000. Donald Trump Jr. decided to one-up his father and potentially violate the gag order himself by sharing an article on Twitter attacking Judge Engoron and accusing him of violating judicial ethics. Let me give you a little bit more backstory before I can tell you the full story. The reason Donald Trump got popped for not deleting the post last week was because the media company Midas Touch, great folks by the way, they actually brought it to everybody's attention like, hey, oh my God, he still has this thing on his website. Well, that made it all the way up to New York Attorney General Letitia James. She brought it to the judge and the judge took action upon that, all based on Midas Touch being the group to expose it. Now, Midas Touch did not go to Judge Engoron and say, Judge, you have to do something about this. Look at our reporting. All they did was bring it to everybody's attention like, hey, this is still here, kind of a big deal. So Junior gets on Twitter, shares an article from the right-wing outlet National Pulse that, well, let me read this. It said that Judge Engoron, quote, is acting on the orders of Democrat Political Action Committee Midas Touch.
Okay, so, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Trump acts like the Twilight Zone. I'll campaign for 10 years, so I'll get elected for 15.
Sanctioning Trump.
Well, no, he's not going to be able to campaign after this, right? I mean, he could try, I guess, if he loses the election.
And as Midas Touch actually points out, this post disparages the judge by accusing him of committing ethical violations of the judicial code of ethics by doing the bidding of a political PAC. If true, that would result in the removal of any judge from the bench. In fact, the judge was simply made aware of what was reported by a media company, not a political PAC. But Junior still sent that out to 10 million of his followers, attacking the judge, which, based on the gag order, you can't do. And Midas Touch, of course, is not a political action committee. They are a media company.
They are based.
But here's the thing, and Midas Touch points this out. Donald Trump Jr., just like Donald Trump Sr., just like Eric Trump, is subjected to that gag order. That gag order is not limited to just Donald J. Trump. So Jr. going out there.
Heat, how's it going?
And spreading this fake news about the judge, that should be considered a violation of that gag order. And
now, here's a question. I know it sounds silly, but like, who's responsible for that, right? Is Don Jr. the one that's gonna go down if like a gag order is violated, or is it Daddy Trump that gets the consequences? Fake news. Love Midas Touch and Hal Sparks. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really watch Hal Sparks. But yeah, Midas Touch. I've seen a few of their videos. Ali with the 12 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Trump has the sewer touch. True.
And again, this happened. It was either late Friday or over the weekend. So today's Monday. Today, this will likely be dealt with by the judge, if not acknowledged and submitted to the judge. So this week, we may have action on this particular issue. And hopefully, Junior gets popped with a little bit more of a penalty than his father.
Okay, so it would be the actual person, like Donald Trump Jr. Because to my knowledge, he isn't a defendant in the case, but I guess he's gonna have to take the consequences then. That's fine by me. COVID breakout in the courtroom, so it's gonna resume on Wednesday? That doesn't make sense. If there was a COVID breakout, wouldn't the quarantine have to be longer? Well, I guess we'll find out on Wednesday, huh?
Because after all, right, the first time you do it, I can see how in Trump's case, you could pretend it was a mistake. But in Junior's case, there's no excuse for that at all. Like, you can't even pretend that this was a mistake. It was an article filled with lies about a media.
Yes, on Wednesday? All right, we'll find out on Wednesday then. I guess that must have been a very recent development.
A company and about a judge. And the judge part is definitely something that is actionable based on the content and the wording of that gag order. So hopefully Junior gets popped with this, but we'll have to wait and see what happens this week.
Lockdowns, that never happened here. Like that's never like a thing that was like a widespread thing that happened here. Yeah. Not a thing that really happened on a national level. Several like states did, and even within states they had like county lockdowns for a couple of weeks, but yeah, we didn't really have a lockdown response. To be like quite frank, as a whole, I wish we had some public health enforcement. Yeah, well, that unfortunately never happened. Not a thing that happened. Not a thing our government was interested in doing at the time, or now actually. To be quite frank, like yeah, again, COVID really hasn't gone away. It's still a thing, folks.
Ring of Fire has fresh
whoa.
content.
All right. So, we got the setup for that. As he mentioned, Trump was fined for $5,000. America was Trump during COVID after all. Yep. Capitalism is a eugenics program. It was up to the states and their governors. Yeah, but no. I'm pretty sure that there could have been a federal response if they really wanted to. They could have just declared a national emergency and said, "All right, look, this is what we're gonna have to do." So I don't really buy that. Fraudulent airwaves. Interesting name. I don't really buy that, because like the federal government could have been like, all right, listen, we're declaring a national emergency, and this is what's gonna have to be done. But that's not a thing that happened. Not really. Not to the degree that the federal response was like not really there. We got like some things, but a lot of it was left up to the states, which is kind of pointless, right? Think about it. Like you're dealing with like a highly transmissible virus, and you're letting like which states decide like to choose like, okay, well, this state's not going to do anything about it, and this state is going to do something about it. Like, it doesn't matter then. It might as well be no states do anything about it. Trump does not know how to lead, and Trump said, "Oh yeah, the bleach hit the inject bleach, inject bleach and hit the body with light, also known as the chain is only as strong as its weakest link." Yeah, in the sense that like, well, if one state is not doing anything about it, then like it's a very contagious like virus. It spreads very quickly. It might as well mean that no states are doing anything. COVID was one person, but infects 9. That's why outside settings for ventilation. I mean, yeah. Yeah, and that's why that's part of the problem, right? You didn't have a really good, cohesive, strong federal response to this. You left it up to the states, who may or may not have done anything about it. I mean, like even if like county, county by county made their own decisions, like it was only a matter of time, right? I mean, like where we used to live, we hang tight for a little bit. We hang tight for a little bit, and it didn't matter, because at the end of the day, the state of Florida said, like, well, whatever, you guys do whatever you want. So it didn't matter if whether or not we had a lockdown or not, and we did for a little bit. Someone getting married? Someone thinks you need to buy a diamond ring. Listen, if I ever come across like the amount of money necessary to buy a diamond ring, I'll let you guys know, okay? Corporate America wants you to be married. GOP pundits and Trump mocks Fauci and the CDC over COVID. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other problems. The point being is that there was no federal leadership. That was my point. You could use it much better. Yeah, I think so. It doesn't even give me the full price of this thing. Just make sure to not carve your wife's name on it so you can use it again next time. That's assuming there's a divorce or that's on the line. Come on. Besides, like, even if that was the case, like, if I gave somebody something like that, that's theirs. Okay? Unless they return it to me, that's theirs. It's a 50-50 chance. Is it, though? Is it? I feel like there's more factors to that. But even if so, that's a fine that's a fine dice roll I'm willing to take. The point being is that if I give something to somebody, that's theirs. If they return it to me, that's a different story. But yeah. Donald Trump fined the 5,000 for violating gag orders in New York fraud trial and warned twice about imprisonment. Twice! The dude has like how many freaking warnings already? Anyways, former President Trump was fined, the supposed billionaire, pennies on the dollar by the New York judge, for violating a gag order not to speak about any member of the court staff and was warned twice about possible imprisonment. I mean, like, the fact that he was even warned twice about possible imprisonment means that he's doing he's conducting himself in a way that would have landed himself in prison a long time, like a while ago. The dude keeps getting just warned and warned and warned and warned. I mean, like, at what point he thinks that he's going to get away with this? He thinks that there's nothing, that there are no consequences, and. Well, you know what? He's kind of right. Clearly, there are no consequences. I guess you could just violate gag orders and you just get warnings and maybe pennies on the dollar. For a billionaire oligarch, for him, that's nothing, supposedly, right? I used to think 5K was a drop in the bucket for Donnie. Now I think it actually hurts. Yeah, that's why I said allegedly. Okay? Allegedly, he's like a really, wealthy oligarch. But it goes to show that there really is no consequences. None. Donald Trump has received ample warning from this court as to the possible repercussions for violating the gag order. He specifically acknowledged that he understood and would abide by it, said Engoron on his order on Friday. Accordingly, issued yet another warning is no longer appropriate. The court is way behind the warning stage. That's right. You can't take the slum out of the slumlord. It's okay, Carp. I think we got it. That's funny. On the second day of the trial, October 3rd, Engoron issued a partial gag order on all parties not to speak about any members of the court staff after Trump posted on Truth Social attacking the clerk. The post claimed that she was a girlfriend of Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Of course, not true. A New York Democrat showing a picture of the two of them together. The post was removed right after the gag order was issued, but it was not erased from Trump's campaign website, donaldjtrump.com. In court, Engoron admonished the former president attorneys for a blatant violation of the gag order and suggested that violations could result in imprisonment. Other than the subject post was never removed from the website and, in fact, had been on the website for the past 17 days. I understand it was removed late last night, but only in response to an email. Trump attorney Chris Casey, apologized to Engoron, saying it was inadvertent that the post was able to live on what he called a back page of Trump's campaign website. A back page to his campaign website. Explain that one to me. It's public, isn't it? It appears that no one also took down the ICYMI link that's in the campaign website in the back pages. Unless they had like that page hidden, but somehow if it was hidden, then nobody would be able to see it. Truly, this appears to be inadvertent. I certainly apologize on behalf of my clients. Trump couldn't even be bothered to handle this himself. He's blamed it on the large machinery of the campaign and was assured the judge that Trump ordered the post removed. There was no intention to evade or circumvent or ignore the gag order, or ignore the order. He added, explained, nothing further has been posted on Trump's Truth Social website. He said he got confirmation Thursday night and Friday morning that the post had been taken down and said it appears to be an issue with the campaign. Part of the process that is built into the campaign structure, as I understand it, that all of this and truth posts are wrapped up and sent out. I will take this under advisement. I want to make clear that Donald Trump is responsible for the large machine, even if it is a large machine. In the current overheated climate, incendiary untruths can, in some cases, has already led to serious physical harm and worse. In his order on Friday, Trump repeated his warning in no uncertain terms. Make no mistake, future violations, whether intentional or unintentional, will subject the violator to far more severe sanctions, which may include but are not limited to steeper financial penalties, holding Trump in contempt of court, and possibly imprisoning him. I mean, like, dude, just do it, man. Okay? There's no time, especially with, like, this type of person that you're dealing with. Stop. Like, he doesn't deserve kid gloves, okay? Trump may have revealed classified info about Iran missile strike. One national security expert spoke with Midas Touch said Trump's comments during his New Hampshire rally today likely revealed classified intelligence that could be useful to Iran. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. Ivanka Trump is moving to quash a subpoena for her testimony, saying she's beyond the court's jurisdiction since she's not a party to the case and has not been a New York resident for 7 years, in a motion filed on Thursday. The former president's daughter was initially the defendant in the lawsuit, but earlier this year, the appeals court dismissed her from the case after finding her alleged conduct fell outside of the statutes of limitations. I miss Trump. At least he was entertaining. No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. Sleepy Joe wakes up about twice a week. Don't care. I don't find Trump entertaining at all. So I'm good. That's not to say like Sleepy Joe is like good. But yeah, no, I'm good. I don't select political leaders because they're entertaining, okay? That seems kind of weird, right? Like, this isn't like a reality show. You know? That's not a reason to want a person to run your country. Yeah, this isn't this isn't a reality show at all. Seems kind of weird. I never understood that. I never understood that line. Like, oh, well, at least he was entertaining. Was he? Was he though? They're all cringe. That's true. That's true. I can find other entertainment. Believe me, no Trump and MAGA. Yeah, I mean, like, and entertainment is not like entertaining is not the thing that I want to hear about a president. But whatever. Carpet is right. They're all cringe. Requiring Mrs. Trump, a non-party, non-domiciliary, to appear at the trial in New York and provide live testimony without any limitations is unreasonable. The New York Attorney General plans to seek testimony from Ms. Trump on a vast, temporarily unlimited, and undefined set of topics that the New York Attorney General has failed to articulate. The New York Attorney General's subpoena give no guidance as to what specific information they are seeking or why that information is sought. Demand testimony well beyond the end of the discovery that the New York Attorney General could have previously obtained an attempt to impose a heavy, unnecessary, and improper burden on Ms. Trump to fill apparent gaps in the New York Attorney General's case. A hearing has been scheduled for next Friday. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what's going on with that. Trash. Garbage. All of them. True. Important development that just happened recently. Believe during the weekend or Friday. When was October 20th? Friday, right? That was Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. Kenneth Chesebro pleads guilty over efforts to overturn Trump's loss in Georgia. Yes, another one, folks. Another one. Lawyer Kenneth Chesebro pleaded guilty to a felony on Friday just as jury selection was getting underway. Jesus. Man. They be flipping, exactly. Flipping like pancakes. As the jury selection was getting underway. I mean, like, again, the same thing. His lawyers must have taken him, to a side and be like, listen, bro, I don't think you're gonna make it, okay? And the consequences for losing this trial are gonna be much worse than you just taking some, like, community service or whatever probation nonsense. The slap on the wrist. Of course, he's gonna have to testify. So that's the important part about this. But yeah, I see what you did there. Hey, listen, pancakes are awesome. And I'm also hungry. So yeah. I'm the type of person that would eat pancakes for dinner. Breakfast food for dinner sounds pretty freaking good. Anyways. On the charges accusing him of participating in efforts to overturn Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election in Georgia. Chesebro was charged alongside with Trump and 17 others for violating the state's anti-racketeering law, pleaded guilty to one felony charge of conspiracy to commit filing false documents in a last-minute deal, with prosecutors agreeing to dismiss the other charges. His plea came a day after fellow attorney Sidney Powell, who had been, like dominoes, folks, who had been scheduled to go to trial alongside him, entered her own guilty plea to 6 misdemeanor counts. In Chesebro's case, he was sentenced to 5 years probation and 100 hours of community service and was ordered to pay $5,000 in restitution, write an apology letter to Georgia residents, and testify truthfully at any related future trial. Oh boy. Yeah, I think that's the important part, right? I mean, basically, in other words, a slap on the wrist. I see what you did. Oh, Chesebro. Isn't that how it's pronounced? Did I get it wrong? Heavy Metal Hipsterella, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Is that like debate bro? No, a chess bro is infinitely more entertaining than a debate bro. Okay? That's just like facts of life. Chessa bro. Chess. Is it? Chess bro. Chessa bro. Kenneth Chess bro. So it's more like, yeah, okay. I'll go with that. Chess bro. Chessa bro. The Cordial, how are you? Hanging in there. Close enough. All right, cool. The 2 guilty pleas, along with a third for a bail's bondsman last month, are major victories for the Fulton County District Attorney, Fannie Willis. They allow her to avoid a lengthy trial of just 2 defendants, which would have given those remaining a peek at her trial strategy and to whittle down an unwieldy pool of defendants. Man, are you speaking about the conflict? No, I'm speaking about the trial that's happening right now. Time for good Euros to go to sleep, as opposed to bad ones, right? Unlike Powell, who was involved in strategy talks with the former president after the election, the indictment does not indicate direct contact between Chesebro and Trump. This could potentially limit any information he could offer prosecutors that would be helpful to them in their case against Trump. Chesebro's lawyer, Scott Grubman, said it's entirely up to the prosecutor whether his client will be called to testify against others in the case, but he would be surprised if it happens. Asked if Trump should worry about any testimony Chesebro might have, Grubman said, "I don't think so." Chesebro, who lives in Puerto Rico, was initially charged with felony racketeering and 6 other counts as part of a wide-ranging scheme to keep the Republican president in power after he lost the election to Democrat Joe Biden. The indictment alleges Chesebro coordinated and executed a plan to have 16 Republicans sign a certificate declaring. I mean, like, at this point in time, if the dude, like, pleaded guilty, can we, like, drop the alleged, right? Because he pleaded guilty to this stuff, right? He pled guilty to 2 or whatever charges. But yeah, like, I don't know. It says a lot that he took a plea deal. It's something that if he had the evidence to, defend himself, then why not just defend himself, right? Grubman said after the plea hearing that his client's been inaccurately described as the architect of some plan to overturn democracy. No, he's part of it. The plea contradicts that. No, it shows that he folded because, well, otherwise it would have been pretty bad, right? I think this plea deal absolutely shows and proves that he was never the architect of any sort of fake elector plan or anything like that. I don't think they're accusing him of being the architect, like the main dude. He's part of it, just like Sidney Powell and the rest of them. For prosecutors, the plea deal assures Chesebro publicly accepts responsibility for his conduct in this case and removes any uncertainty of a trial by juror of his peers. It also compels him to testify in the future trials in the case based on court filings by prosecutors that could include communications he had with Trump's campaign lawyer and close associates, including co-defendant Rudy Giuliani, the former New York mayor, and a Trump attorney. Trump attorney Steve Sadow said it appears as if Chesebro's guilty plea was the result of pressure by Fani Willis and her team and the prosecution's looming threat of prison time. He also reiterated that after Powell's guilty plea, which similarly included a commitment to testify in future trials, once again I fully expect the truthful testimony would be favorable to my defense strategy. Sure, dude. Sure. Chesebro is also a named unindicted co-conspirator in an indictment filed against Trump by the Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith. The former president was charged in that case with trying to illegally overturn the 2020 results of the election and block the peaceful transfer of power, a thing that, I mean, we all have eyes. We all have eyes, right? We all have eyes and we all saw. The federal indictment alleges that co-conspirator 5, identified by Chesebro by the AP, through court and congressional records and other means, assisted in devising and attempting to implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors and obstruct the certification proceeding. By the time Chesebro agreed to the plea deal, prospective jurors at his planned trial had originally been sworn in and filled out an extensive questionnaire. He had been set to be tried alongside Powell after each filed a demand for a speedy trial. As part of Powell's deal, she will serve 6 years of probation, be fined $6,000, and will have to write an apology letter to Georgia and its residents. She also recorded a statement for the prosecutor and agreed to testify truthfully against her co-defendants at a future trial. The lower-profile defendant in the case, bail bondman Scott Graham Hall, pleaded guilty last month to 5 misdemeanor charges. He was sentenced to 5 years of probation and agreed to testify in further proceedings. So, this is actually the third person. This is actually the third person, but those two were more high-profile. Make attorneys get making attorneys get attorneys. Yep. All the other defendants, including Trump and his White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, have pleaded not guilty. Grubman said that this deal means his client will get to return to his family and his life without spending a day behind bars. He said he believes getting prosecutors to agree on the record that this was not a crime of moral turpitude should allow Chesebro to continue to practice law. Yeah. Okay. A lot of people have been saying that he was the main architect for the fake electors. Oh. I must be confusing this dude with somebody else. I thought it was a couple of them. Because, like, this just didn't come out of nowhere. Or maybe I'm just misremembering the names. The charge related to Chesebro's role organizing slated Trump electors, pro-Trump electors to meet in 7 states where Joe Biden had won. Gotcha. Like, I know this guy had a role. And there's others too. That included writing memos advocating for Republicans in those states to meet and cast electoral votes for Trump and provide detailed instructions on how the process should be carried out. In an email to Giuliani, he outlined strategies to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress during which electoral votes were to be certified. He wrote that those strategies were preferable to allowing the Electoral Count Act to operate by its terms. Okay. Yeah, so it was this guy. Yeah, it was this guy. I mean, say what you want, but taking a plea deal says more to me that you did it than anything else. But okay, in this situation, okay, in this case, based on the other evidence that we've seen and the stories that we've had, I mean, we all saw like the January 6th committee hearings and whatnot. I mean, yeah. I mean, these lawyers can say whatever they want, but I believe we have eyes, okay? I believe we have eyes and ears. All right, shifting gears really quickly. The clown show continues, folks. The clown show continues. 9 Republicans are vying to become the next House Speaker. These are the candidates. Deeply divided Republican lawmakers this week are trying to coalesce around a nominee for Speaker of the House for a third time after their 2 previous candidates failed to secure enough backing in the party. The Speaker race is now wide open, with 9 GOP lawmakers running for the party's nomination after Ohio Representative Jim Jordan's bid failed in 3 votes last week. The House has been leaderless for well over 2 weeks, with no resolution in sight, leaving Congress paralyzed as the clock ticks towards the November 17 deadline to avoid a government shutdown. President Biden has also called on lawmakers to urgently pass security assistance of Israel and Ukraine. Yeah, so that's about, 3 weeks out? about well, just a little bit over 3 weeks. They have not coalesced around anyone. If they do manage to somehow find their candidate, they're gonna have to be able to pass that vote, and then when they finally, which I don't think is gonna happen, it's gonna be several rounds before anything. There's gonna be several rounds before any of this gets done, and that's assuming, like, once that gets done, that's assuming there's still time to coalesce around the spending bill to avoid the shutdown. There's a saying in football: if you've got two starting quarterbacks, you don't have a starting quarterback. Yeah, I don't know if you caught 9. That's true. No, I haven't seen this one. Trump wants to cite lawyers' advice on DOJ's January 6th case. That could be risky. Trump and his defense, accusing him of illegally attempting to overturn the 2020 election, repeatedly told television interviews that Trump was merely following guidance he received from his lawyers, including a constitutional scholar. But asserting formal advice of counsel, defense carries some significant risk for Trump, as recent brief from prosecutor's office makes it clear. Prosecutors asked Judge Chutkan to order Trump to disclose by December 18th whether he intends to rely on a formal advice of counsel defense to counter the government's argument that Trump knew that he was engaging. Yeah, but, like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, because you were taking, like, you still can't, like, say that what you did was wrong, right? That seems kind of like ignorant. What's the saying? Ignorance of the law doesn't mean you get to break it. To assert a formal advice of counsel defense, precedent holds that Trump must provide evidence on 2 points. He must show that before he received advice about the legality of his actions, he told his lawyers everything that they needed to know to give him sound advice. He must also show that after he received his lawyer's advice, he relied upon it in good faith, meaning that he abided by what he considered to be legally well-grounded counsel. Jesus. If Trump satisfies those requirements, the judge may instruct jurors that the former president's reliance on advice from his lawyers raises doubts about his criminal intent. In that scenario, the government must convince jurors that Trump knew that he was engaged in illegal conduct despite the claim that he was following his lawyer's directions. You can see why Trump and his criminal defense lawyers are contemplating an advice of counsel defense. They have pointed in particular to Trump's alleged reliance on a memo which law professor John Eastman. Oh, that's the guy I think I got confused with Chesbro. This guy. A one-time U.S. Supreme Court clerk outlined his theory that Vice President Mike Pence at the time could thwart the formal congressional certification of Biden's victory in the presidential election. What Trump's being indicted for ultimately is following legal advice from an esteemed scholar, John Eastman. Trump's lawyer, John Lauro of Lawrence Singer, told NBC Meet the Press on August 6. But to obtain a jury instruction to that effect, Trump will have to waive his right to keep communications with Eastman about the 2020 election out of the government's hands. And according to prosecutors' October 10 brief, that confidentiality waiver could extend to Trump's exchanges with other lawyers about his challenges to the 2020 election results. Trump's defense lawyer, Laurel and Todd Blank, did not respond to my email query. Spokesperson for the special counsel declined to comment. Eastman, like Trump, has denied wrongdoing in the connection with the efforts to block certification of the results of the election. He said in a California disciplinary proceeding that his legal theories were viable and advanced in good faith. His criminal defense attorneys did not immediately respond to my query about advice of counsel issue. Jesus. So he maintains that that this was like a sound strategy? Wow. Okay, dude. Sure, buddy. Mars Bars, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Once Trump invokes that advice of the counsel defense, prosecutors argued in an October 10th brief that he is required to hand over not just any evidence he plans to use to back his claim that he was merely following his lawyer's advice, but also any confidential communications or documents that will allow prosecutors to refute that advice of counsel defense. It opens up the door to pretty much everything related to the attorney's legal advice. Damn. If that's the case, like, that would be, whew. That would be, wow. That could be a risky proposition, especially because Trump, Eastman, and other Trump attorneys are facing related charges in the state court in Georgia. So, like, imagine if all this, if he does end up doing this, imagine, if it ends up being the case that, like, a known pathological liar, Trump, ends up, like, lying on this. Oh, boy. Oh, man. Yikes. This could be a risky proposition because they're also facing, Fulton County. Prosecutors told Chutkan on the October 10th brief that no fewer than 25 witnesses, including co-conspirators, former campaign employees, the campaign itself, and outside attorneys, have cited Trump's right to confidentiality when those witnesses refuse to turn over information sought by the government. If Trump waives the right to confidentiality over some or all his communications with the attorneys, prosecutors hint that the government may be entitled to see some of that withheld material. At the very least, the government said Trump's prosecutors will need to investigate previous assertions that materials were shielded by Trump's attorney-client privilege. The government said the judge should allow time for prosecutors to test Trump's advice of counsel theory before the trial begins, so that proceeding in front of the jury is not disrupted by wrangling over the confidentiality and admissibility of evidence. Eastman's memo may present particular admissibility problems, said former prosecutor Niels. If Trump's defense lawyer intended to argue that the former president was simply heeding the advice contained in the memo, said Trump will have to offer witness testimony that he received the advice and followed it in good faith. It's unlikely that Eastman would testify in Trump's criminal trial in Washington when he is facing charges in Georgia. If Eastman were to invoke his Fifth Amendment right to avoid testifying, Trump's lawyer would either have to find another witness to attest that Trump relied on good faith on Eastman's advice, or would have to call Trump himself to testify. Whoever the defense calls will, of course, be subject to cross-examination by prosecutors. That's another risk. Oh, man, if Trump ends up testifying, that's, hoo boy. Yeah. On top of the risk of exposing Trump's confidential communications and documents to prosecutors, defense counsel are due to respond to the government's motion by October 20th. So, wait, did they respond? I guess we'll see how this plays out. Right to jail. Okay. Yeah, he'll just incriminate himself 100%. Like, if the dude takes a stand, if he takes a stand, it's over. Liar, liar, the peen. It's blue. Republicans ditched Jordan on Friday. So back to the clown show. Sorry, the other clown show, I should say. The other clown show. House Republicans will hold a closed-door candidate forum at 6:30 p.m. Monday, today, now, actually, with an internal party vote scheduled for 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow to select the next GOP nominee. Interim House Speaker Patrick McHenry of North Carolina said he wants the nominee to face a House vote as soon as Tuesday. Republicans ditched Jordan on Friday. His failure came after the party's original nominee, Steve Scalise, bowed out of the race because he could not secure enough GOP votes. It is deeply uncertain whether any of the 9 candidates can succeed where Jordan and Scalise have failed. Democrats have lined up in lockstep behind their nominee, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. This means the GOP nominee can only lose 4 Republican votes given the party's narrow majority in the House. Do you not know that line? No, that went over my head. Trump wants to blame Rudy and Sidney Powell for the election and January 6th crimes. Nah, I don't know. Honestly, that reference went right over my head. I thought it was a joke. Only 2 of the 9 GOP candidates, Majority Whip Tom Emmer of Minnesota and Representative Austin Scott of Georgia, voted to certify the president's victory in the election. The 7 other GOP speaker candidates objected to Biden's victory in either Arizona, Pennsylvania, or both after a mob of Trump's supporters, did the insurrection. All of the candidates voted against establishing a commission to investigate the January 6th riot. Oh, it's literally from the movie Liar Liar. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, wait, so I haven't seen this movie in a very, very long time. So he can't That's funny. Trump and Rudy would say unblue. No, they whatever he did, that's what we need in the trial, okay? That's funny. Five of the 9 GOP candidates voted in September for temporary spending legislation to avoid a government shutdown. These are the 9 Republican candidates. Tom Emmer, Republican Majority Whip, has the backing of former Speaker McCarthy of California, whose ouster by a rebel GOP faction triggered the current leadership crisis. He sets himself head and shoulders above the others who want to run. McCarthy said, "We need to get him elected this week and move on and bring this not just the party together, but focus on what this country needs more." He missed his kid's birthday after promising he wouldn't. Oof. His son made a birthday cake wish. Okay, so that's how this whole thing started, because he missed his kid's birthday and he made a wish. The Minnesota Republican voted to certify the presidential election results. He voted to fund the government in December. So this is Austin Scott. He ran against Jordan for the GOP nomination, but lost to the Ohio Republican. Jordan defeated Scott in a closed-door internal party 124-81. Austin subsequently backed Jordan's speaker bid. The Georgia Republican said he's re-entering the race now that Jordan has withdrawn. Let's review movie together. Yeah, you guys do that. If we're going to be the majority, we need to act like the majority, and that means we have to do the right things the right way. Scott voted to certify the presidential election. He voted to fund the government. Jack Bergman of Michigan. I don't even know who this is. A retired Marine Corps officer slammed Republicans on Monday for leaving Washington without electing a speaker. Bergman warned Congress faces a ticking clock to pass the spending legislation by November 17th to avoid a government shutdown. Congress should be in session every single day until we elect a speaker and properly fund the government. The Michigan Republican objected to the 2020 presidential election results in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Automatically, dude should be disqualified. He shouldn't even be a freaking congressperson, but okay. Byron Donalds is a 2-term lawmaker and member of the ultra-conservative Freedom Caucus. So a far-right person. Got it. Republicans nominated Donalds several times in January in an effort to block McCarthy's marathon bid to secure the gavel. Donalds objected to the 2020 presidential election results in Arizona and Pennsylvania, but he's from Florida, ? Also, shouldn't be a congressperson, should be booted. The Florida Republican did not cast a vote on the spending legislation. Kevin Hern of Oklahoma. Kevin Hern, chairman of the Republican Study Committee, and the GOP said the GOP needs to rally behind whoever wins this nomination. Without that, you have anarchy. Can't keep doing what we're doing now. The world needs the house back open. Jesus. The world? The world needs the house back open. With what we're seeing around the world, it's imperative that we get the Republican Party back in charge and America back in its leadership position. Jesus. Main character syndrome, huh? Hearn objected to the 2020 presidential election result in Arizona and Pennsylvania. The Oklahoma Republican voted against funding the government in September. I mean, like, how many of these guys have voted against certifying the election? And the fact that they're still in Congress, the fact that they're vying for one of the most important spots of government, the Speaker of the House. I think they're third in line for the presidency. And you have people here that are denying, like, the election results. You think they were the League of Justice, or no, maybe League of Doom. The League of Doom. These are all freaking villains. Second in line if you don't count the president who isn't waiting in line. Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. So, president, vice president, speaker. Got it. But, technically, yeah, the president isn't waiting in line. So, yeah, second in line to the presidency, and you have, like, a good chunk of these people not even accepting the results. Okay. Mike Johnson is the GOP deputy whip and vice chairman of the Republican conference. Johnson said he previously deferred from running out of respect for Jordan, Scalise, and Scott. It is incumbent upon us now to decide upon a consensus candidate who can serve as trusted caretaker and good steward of the gavel. Johnson objected to the 2020 presidential... What is this? This is wild. This is wild that the Republican Party... These are the people that they've put forth. These are the people running for speaker. Objected to the 2020 presidential election result in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, this idea that there's such a thing as, like, moderate Republicans, or this idea that there's a difference between, like, the MAGA movement and the other, and, like, the Republican Party. It's like, you know, the MAGA movement is just like a faction within the Republican Party. I don't know, man. It's all the same to me. Yeah, and clearly, it's clearly that the party's been taken over, right? It's indistinguishable. There is no such thing as a non-MAGA Republican. They're all MAGA. They're all the same. It's all the same. Louisiana Republican voted against funding the government in September. Dan Mazur of Pennsylvania. Representative Mazur is a businessman, a member of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus, and former Secretary of Revenue in Pennsylvania. Mazur said whoever wins the nomination needs to ensure that Speaker's office is inclusive so that the narrow GOP remains unified. The Pennsylvania Republican told Fox Business and Republicans' failure to elect a Speaker has made the party of dysfunction. Mazur objected to the 2020 presidential election results in Pennsylvania, but not Arizona. He voted to fund the government in September. All these guys, are you serious right now? Gary Palmer of Alabama. He's the chairman of the House Republican Policy Committee. Palmer vowed in a statement Sunday to move the party beyond its internal divisions. The Alabama Republican objected to the 2020 presidential elections in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Palmer voted against funding the government in September. Pete Sessions of Texas said he would make the border security one of the top priorities as Speaker. Yes. Sure. I guess we're just going to right off the bat with the xenophobia. Okay. Sessions indicated in an interview with Newsmax, of course, he would tie the government funding to wall construction on the southern border. Oh, yeah, dude. Phenomenal way of ensuring that none of this gets passed in time. Cool. Quote, we must solve our border issue. Question mark. What is the border issue? Sessions has served in Congress since 1990. Somehow, he's led the House Republican campaign arm when the GOP swept victory in the 2020 midterm elections. Sessions objected to the 2020 presidential result in Arizona and Pennsylvania. The Texas Republican voted to fund the government in September. Wow, phenomenal. All of these people objected to the results. Phenomenal stuff, folks. The only guy that didn't, I think, is the first one, Tom Emmer. They should automatically be disqualified. Yeah, they shouldn't even be Congress people. To be quite frank, they shouldn't even be representatives. But, you know, it is what it is. That's the situation where we find ourselves in. Liz Cheney doesn't rule out a presidential run, calling Trump the single most dangerous threat to the nation. Representative Liz Cheney said in an interview yesterday, that she was not ruling out a run for president. Okay, and you're just gonna run independent? Okay. Called Donald Trump the single most dangerous threat. Cheney, one of Trump's most outspoken Republican critics, served as vice chair of the House January 6th committee. She said on CNN State of the Union that what the committee's investigation found shows that there could be no question that he will unravel the institution of democracy. Kami Kazioni, welcome. Cheney has said in June that she would not do anything that helps Trump in the 2024 election and was hesitant at the time to announce any moves on her part. Trump campaign did not immediately respond. I mean, like, the best thing that you can do is just, like, nothing, honestly. Because I think her running, like, would she even run in the Republican primary? Because there's no point in her, there's no point in her running, in the Republican primary. And if she runs in the Republican primary, it only helps Trump, to be honest. She said that she would also support any other candidates in the upcoming election. I'll tell you what I'm definitely going to do. I'm going to spend the next year between now and the election certainly helping people to elect serious people, helping to elect sane people to Congress. Well, if you're backing any, like, Republicans, then, like, no, that's not what you're doing. Also, here's a question. Like, you know, people keep, like, putting her on, like, some kind of weird, like, on some kind of weird pedestal when she, you know, overwhelmingly endorsed Trump's agenda. Personally, I think that she's, big mad that, too many quiet parts, have been said out loud. So now she's, like, forced to do this. Cheney's added that she would support candidates of both Republican and Democratic parties. So, yeah, I mean, like, if you're talking about, electing, like, serious people, I don't understand. Serious, insane people, I don't understand. There should be no Republicans in that situation. She's a Cheney advocate of big war, exactly. We don't want a situation where the election is thrown into the House of Representatives, and Donald Trump has any possibility at all of prevailing under those circumstances. Then you should probably be campaigning for Dems, right? Because if he wins the general... Yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay. We're facing a moment in American politics where we have to set aside partisanship and we have to make sure people who believe in the Constitution are willing to come together to prevent him from ever again setting foot anywhere near the Oval Office. Yeah, cool. Cool story, bro. Wish that attitude was there when you voted over 96% of his agenda. So, yeah. Sorry if I don't believe you. Yeah. Switching gears, folks. Extreme ocean temperatures threaten to wipe out Caribbean coral. Yeah, that's coral. Yep, that's a thing, folks. That's still a thing. Unusually warm waters in the Caribbean Sea are being fueled by what some scientists say is the region's worst episode of coral bleaching ever recorded. Yet another worrisome development in what has been an off-the-charts year of warmth for the world's oceans. Reefs in and around the Caribbean are experiencing high levels of heat stress, according to researchers at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. Stoking fears that widespread bleaching could lead to catastrophic die-offs of corals in the area. It comes off the heels of one of the worst bleaching events since ever seen off of Florida. Florida's just the tip of the iceberg, said the coordinator of NOAA's Coral Relief Watch program, said Derek Moncello, a coral reef ecologist. The entire Caribbean right now is bleaching. If you picked up a random spot in the map in the Caribbean and jumped in the water, you're going to see bleached coral. That's pretty sad. Hey, thank you so much for the gifted tier sub. I appreciate it. Thank you, Heat. Yeah, first place indeed. First place in gifted subs. Nice. Warm conditions are expected to linger in the Caribbean Sea for the coming weeks, while Southern Hemisphere also transitions out of winter into warmer spring temperatures. All told, it may be the start of what's known as a global bleaching event, which is characterized by widespread coral bleaching in all three ocean basins, the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean. The last global event occurred from 2014 to 2017, a period that, like this year, has also featured the return of El Nino conditions, a natural climate cycle that can compound background warming from climate change, often boosting average air and sea temperatures. Even with El Nino, the intensity of the marine heat waves, particularly off Florida, and their longevity came as a surprise, said Ian Enoch, a research ecologist at NOAA's Atlantic Oceanography and Meteorology Laboratory. Heat-induced bleaching occurs as stress responds to abnormal conditions, triggering corals to expel tiny photosynthetic algae that live in their tissue. It causes the colorful coral to turn an eerily bleached white hue. See, I understand that reference, okay? I understand that meme, okay? Bleaching doesn't necessarily cause corals to die, but the process weakens reefs and makes the marine invertebrates more susceptible to disease. Sea surface temperatures around the world have smashed records in recent months, with some of the biggest and most persistent temperature spikes having been recorded in the North Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and Caribbean Basin. Over the summer, sea surface temperatures off Florida peaked over 90 degrees Fahrenheit and stayed elevated for weeks on end. Another way of putting it is, they're basically hot tubs. Yeah, very normal. Just very normal stuff happening here, folks. Part of Enoch's research has focused on Chica Rocks, a reef within the Florida Keys. For more than a decade, Enoch has been monitoring the site, collecting data to compile 3D models of changes to the reef over time. This year, he said Chica Rocks experienced 100% bleaching, with not a single part of the reef left unaffected. That's wild, and that's pretty depressing. I've never seen anything to this extent at Chica Rocks. We are experiencing heat stress levels that were double what we've ever experienced before at Chica Rocks. If that's not alarming in terms of the magnitude of this, I don't know what is. Feiner Montoya Maya, a marine biologist and restoration program manager at the Coral Restoration Foundation, a non-profit ocean conservation organization, said the marine heat waves were so intense that this year that many corals didn't have a chance to adjust. On those occasions when the temperatures went up so quickly, they didn't even have time to bleach. They were burned to death. Jesus. And this is what it basically looks like. The Coral Reef Foundation, Restoration Foundation, the Coral Restoration Foundation works to raise genetically diverse corals in nurseries and then plant them on reefs around the globe. The goal, Montoya Maya said, is to increase live coral cover on reefs and to build back populations and boost their resilience. The situation in the Caribbean isn't yet as dire as it is off Florida. Monzello said that the bleaching event is still going on and the extent of this year's warmth may not be clear for months to come. What is apparent, however, is that long-term trends are cause for alarm. It's concerning because every time we've had a global bleaching event, they keep getting worse and worse. Still, amid such an ecological devastation, Enoch said there's reasons for optimism. there is not much worse than the death of these important species, but at the same time, I've been truly surprised that we have not seen more destruction as of yet. There's been a whole bunch of mortality and death, but we have seen some recoveries. Water temperatures have dropped down, and to that, it means in the face of all this, there's still hope. I mean, yeah, but it's not very comforting to say that, like, I'm only surprised that it wasn't worse. Those aren't exactly comforting words coming from, like, scientists, right? To say, like, oh well, I'm surprised, it wasn't worse. That's not exactly comforting. Yes, the climate crisis is still happening. Yes, the climate crisis is worsening, and yes, not enough is being done. Borderline next to zero is being done, and in terms of, like, actually meaningfully, importantly addressing the issue, yeah, pretty much, like, for all intents and purposes, yeah, nothing is being done. Well, nature adapts, life finds a way, but lots of things will die. Oh yeah, like, no doubt about it. But part of the problem is that, like, we're not giving the time. Things that happen, maybe tens of thousands of years. Yeah, of course, nature and life adapts. We adapt. But when you have, like, these events that are supposed to happen over long, long periods of time happening very, very rapidly, they don't have that chance. And yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. I think of the snow crabs, which didn't get their cold temperature wintering grounds or whatever and died in mass. Yeah, like, to the point where they just shut down the whole industry for that year, for the year. That's wild. And a testament to how alarming the situation is. And again, no real meaningful no meaningful response is being made by the decision makers who would have that power to do that. That's their dilemma. Do I tell the bare truth and trigger despair, say something hopeful at the end so people cannot give up? I mean, like, you have to, obviously, like, as long as there's still time, whatever the case, however much that is, and as long as you are, as long as you still have cards to play, then, you do that. But you can both simultaneously, say the severity of the situation while also saying, like, okay, no, understand that this is bad. This is really bad. This is a crisis, and we need to use that, not to despair, not to say we can't do anything about it, but it should invoke urgency. It should invoke urgency to action. And I hope that's the point of bringing this up. It's not to, trigger despair. It's not to say that, just to give up because there's nothing you can do. But it's more to say, well, the situation is dire, so therefore, we need to do something about it. It should, in my opinion, hopefully, inspire urgency of action, if anything. At least that's the way I interpret it, At least that's the way I interpret it. All right, folks. We made it. We got We got through everything. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. I appreciate all the support. Thank you. Thank you for all the subscriptions, biddies, follows. Welcome, everybody. If you do hit the follow button, you do get free emotes, including 2 cat emotes. If you guys want to support the channel, but cannot do so monetarily, go on over to the YouTube channel, hit the big red subscribe button. It really does help us out, as 247 of you have already done. Thank you, Heat. I appreciate you being here. Thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all. See ya. All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.